Hello! Today we are going to be talking about this illustration. Bum, bum, bum. It is it's a bit different than the other ones that I've done. I'm going to read off some stats for you from Procreate. It took about 12 hours. It's a square, 17 by 17 inches, and I started it November 27th, 2020. So I probably finished it sometime in December, probably that first week of December. The way that I got the idea for this piece is actually from the Mitski song Humpty. It's like Humpty Dumpty, and a lot of the song is talking about sort of the comfort in just sort of like sitting in a bathroom or shower when the water's running, when you're like mid-mental breakdown, which is relatable, I say. I cannot remember for the life of me how I came up with the idea for it to be sort of like an angel, like a almost like fallen angel-esque with like tiny wings. I think I was reading, what was I reading? Hold on. Okay, I found it after some digging, some investigating. It's a comic by Miss Lucid Comics. I think they go by Elucid on like Webtoon and like Tapas and things like that, but it's a completed comic by them that's called Avile. Nope, that's not it. It's Avialae, and it's about basically like people with wings, and they have their whole society and stuff like that, and the main character just starts sprouting wings, and like at first it seems like a very painful process, and I think I was reading that at this time. It's pretty good. Right now they are currently making a comic called The Hunt, which is super great, so go read their comics and support them. Anyway, and so maybe that's where I got the idea. I feel like it's a pretty basic idea to have sort of like the like wings sprouting from back, or some like that type of transformation, and just sort of the way that the character's just sort of like tired, like this, not this, and yeah, I also like the sort of color palette that I came up with, how like the colors are very bright and happy, but the subject matter really isn't, which is a lot of what I did in college. I did a lot of sort of creepy paintings that had sort of bright colors but unsettling subject matters, and I kind of want to get back to that, because for most of 2021 I did fan art. For like the first half I did the Mighty Nine series of rooms, which I'm glad that I completed. There were a couple of times when I'm like, I'm not sure if I can do all of them, but I completed them, and I'm proud that I completed all of them. And then I did a lot of stuff for Campaign Skyjacks, and because of that I could focus on like techniques and compositions and the sort of design elements, and like focus on how to make something purely visually striking. And I feel like that helped a lot grow my style and grow the way that I wanted things to look visually, because I didn't have to worry about making up a whole new concept and then figuring out how to visually translate, like make a visual language for that concept so people could understand it. I just had to take this concept that someone had already made and just put it on a piece of paper, or like take that idea that someone had and sort of run with it. Like with Campaign Skyjacks, the specific piece for Margaret Week, there was, Margaret and like the river and the Rusalka is this whole thing. I don't want to necessarily spoil it if you haven't listened to the podcast, but obviously, woman and river, I thought of Ophelia, obviously, and so then that is, a painting formula that is very familiar. It was one of those things like Ophelia, Judith, and Holofernes. It was one of those things that people just constantly painted throughout history, and so there was a lot of like visual things to work with, and then also sort of like the double meaning of the concepts, and so then I could just really focus on how to make that visually striking with all of this information that I already had. And so doing that, I feel like I've gotten a lot better with my drawings, and a lot better making like polished drawings and pieces. But I do sort of miss this sort of flat overlay that I was making, but I think I've definitely sort of grown past it at this point, but I might want to maybe get back to it at one point. But I do want to see if I could maybe like redraw this at one point with what sort of, and see how my style has grown. I feel like that could be interesting. And I've also had this idea since I've made this piece of sort of a series that's similar to this. Like I've said, it's based off of the Mitski song Humpty, and I feel like a lot of, not just her songs, but like this concept could be translated into a lot of different things and have the same character, but in like different rooms and places. So, for example, there's the song Last Words of a Shooting Star, when she says no one will know that I stared in my room like a blood-sniffing shark. I believe that's the lyric. And sort of having that one be like in a bedroom, and then having another one be like, maybe there will be one that's like, based off townie, that'll be like on a balcony, that's a bit on the nose. But things similar to that, and having sort of the same character, but having them in different places in their house, and just seeing like how they occupy their own space when, nobody's watching. I feel like that could be interesting. I do think that I like the style of having sort of the room cut out and then having it in this void. But I'm not sure if I want to do that with any other drawings. I always debate back and forth on it, particularly for things like this. But I'm not sure. I do really like the pink and blue. Most of my paintings from when I was in college had like pink and blue in them a lot. So I think I kind of went back to that for this one, not only like in the concept but also in the color palette, and sort of had my new digital style merge with some of the old stuff that I was doing in college, which I think is quite fun. So I think once I get more comfortable with sort of the techniques that I've been learning currently, I want to try and do some more original pieces like I did with this one. And obviously, like, I'll still continue to make fan art, because there's sometimes when I just like see something or hear something or read something and I'm like, I'm gonna draw that. But over the year, I think I've sort of definitely lost the value of creating your own like concepts and like drawings and characters. Not necessarily from scratch, because nothing's really from scratch. I could have a whole, video about that or whatever, but instead of just purely making, fan art of a different character from something, I think I sort of have just, it's been great though, just sort of drawing for the sake of drawing, and not necessarily drawing and being like, oh, I'm going to sell that, or oh, I'm going to put that in an Etsy shop, which is what a lot of these, the vampire and the witch one, and all of these were sort of for. They were like original concepts that I have been planning on selling. And I think I sort of need to combine the two and just make an original piece just to make an original piece, and if it turns out good, maybe sell it, but not have the first thought be, I'm going to make something for the purpose of selling it. I sort of need to create that balance for myself, which I think is very valuable. And here's me sort of trying to do some realistic blood at first, and then it didn't quite work out because just the color with everything else didn't quite look right. The way everything was so poppy and pink and blue, and then there was this dark crimson red, didn't quite make sense. And so then I changed that to be like a almost like fuchsia color to go with the pink, but then also be separate from the bright pink that I have. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. I'm just adding some shadow. Again, don't know where the shadow or lighting is coming from. That's something that I've definitely learned doing fan art, but anyway, I hope you enjoy this video, and have a absolutely wonderful day. Draw whatever you want. Draw what makes you happy. Bye-bye. Love you. Bye-bye.